I don't know which one I'm going to be putting out first, so just in case I end up putting this one out first, I want to thank you guys again for the support on the previous Deltarune video. Again, this is a small channel, you know, completely created to be an outlet so I could talk about whatever games I wanted and whatever I'm playing in the moment and stuff like that, with a little bit more of a focus on like Sonic, Nintendo, Kingdom Hearts, and, you know, some other, you know, kind of similar stuff in the realm of that, with like, you know, just some occasional RPGs. You know, Final Fantasy is obviously going to be a thing here, and of course, Deltarune. I do promise that we're going to talk a little bit more about Deltarune in the future. However, unfortunately, we're being honest here, I am not a theorist, so there's only so much I can do with Deltarune in terms of content, you know? So we'll definitely talk more about it, and we're definitely going to do like probably a blind, maybe live playthrough. We'll see what my situation is when we get the chance. So we'll talk more about it. But for now, we are going to be talking a little bit more about Sonic today. And I've been thinking a lot about Sonic Frontiers. You know, I did play through it recently within this last year, and I did plan to do like I messed up. I did plan to do like a very specific style of review where my past self would be interacting with my future self in regards to what my past thoughts were on the game and what my current thoughts are on the game. But I didn't record the past part until after I finished the game, so it constantly, frequently interfered with my, you know, inherent thoughts on it. So can't really do that with that game. But regardless, Sonic Frontiers was a good time. I absolutely adore that game. It's easily one of my favorite 3D Sonic games in recent years, and probably one of my favorite 3D Sonic games of all time. It's, you know, right next to Unleashed, for sure. And it's probably number 2. No doubt about it. Now, of course, it's not like I'm not acknowledging its flaws or anything like that, but I still adore this game for what it is. You know what I mean? So I love it, and there's really nothing else for me to say on that, which is why I am absolutely ecstatic for what they're going to bring to the table with Sonic Frontiers 2, right? We've heard of rumors and hearsay here and there about what Sonic Frontiers 2 is going to contain. Instead of Sonic Frontiers, which is like separate zones that Sonic would travel through, it's going to be one big dedicated area or something like that. I think somebody said mention of an island somewhere. I try not to look into leaks and spoilers, because if that stuff like that does happen to be true, then it is just kind of upsetting to know, because I already knew beforehand. But, you know, at the end of the day, it's kind of too early to even guess that kind of thing, because we have no idea where Sonic Frontiers 2 is in development. That is going to be really confusing to say. I'm just going to say Frontiers 2 from now on. But regardless, you know, I have very high hopes for that game, right? Especially in the story department, because we could definitely tell with Sonic Frontiers that they are very serious about their storytelling again, their characterization again, and with, you know, general plot development and, you know, that edge that Sonic has been missing for ages in its storytelling. Ever since the Colors era, me personally, I don't like Colors at all. I want to like Colors. It's not, you know, it's just not for me, you know, it's whatever. But regardless, you know, it's been missing that oomph, that edge that the Sonic series has been needing since, you know, the 2010s era, and we finally got a glimpse of that in Sonic Frontiers, and that's what I'm hoping for with Sonic Frontiers 2, right? And we even saw more of a glimpse of what the future of Sonic could potentially hold with Sonic X Shadow Generations, which proved to us that they care about these characters, especially, you know, a character as deep as Shadow, with his lore, his story, his characterization. They did the best possible job they could taking care of that in such a short package, and I absolutely love them for it, right? So, I want to see Shadow back, right? You guys have seen the title and you've seen the thumbnail. We'll talk about the other part of this first. But firstly, I want to see Shadow in a position where he and Sonic do need to work together, right? Here's the thing. One of the things that I love about Frontiers, even, you know, at the end there, even if it was a little on the jankier side, was the Final Horizon DLC, where we did get the opportunity to play as Knuckles, as Amy, and as Tails, right? It was really cool. The problem, though, is that there was barely enough content there to justify playing as them. There was a situation in which you kind of just went from objective to objective, and you could upgrade the character and it would make getting to said objective a little bit easier, but in the long run, you didn't really have anything to do with those, you know, upgrades and abilities unless you went out of your way to fight, you know, any enemy that was within the overworld. And again, you would have to do a little bit of grinding and searching heavy just to do that, you know? And I just feel like it was a little bit of a wasted opportunity with all of their characterization, all of their weaponry and stuff like that. They had such unique movesets compared to Sonic that it would have been really, really cool to be able to do more and to have like an actual genuine dedicated boss for each of them or something like that to make it a little bit more interesting to get the Chaos Emeralds, right? So that's kind of where I'm at with that, which is why I feel like we could definitely see a situation with that with Shadow, right? Because they've made it very, very clear and distinct that Shadow and Sonic are different characters. They're very distinct from one another, and Shadow has his own unique moveset that could be really, really interesting to be utilized in a Frontiers Zone format, right? I think it would be really cool to be able to use his, you know, his cool abilities, his chaos control and everything like that, his beams and everything in an open zone style game. Right? I feel like there's just so much potential there, and I feel like he would be able to get to certain things and do certain objectives that Sonic simply wouldn't, because that's not stuff that's a part of Sonic's arsenal, right? So I think it would be really, really neat to be able to go between the two and be able to do, you know, very similar things while having a... We'll get to that. We'll get more on that. I'm getting ahead of myself. The point is, from a gameplay standpoint, I would absolutely adore it if Shadow were playable with his unique moveset. And in a similar vein, I feel like we could have a very similar situation with Silver, right? I made a video a couple of months ago at this point talking about how Silver definitely got shafted because of what happened with Sonic 06, and it's really not fair to him because he was supposed to be the third major powerhouse of the series, and he got downscaled extremely bad. Especially in Forces, from what I've seen. It's just so unfortunate what happened to Silver, and I feel like he deserves a lot better than what he got, right? He gets acknowledgments in the games now because he's just, you know, his design is just too perfect to just let go, and his power is so cool, you know? But, like, he's just background now, and I feel like that's a little unfair, and I feel like we could definitely, if we're willing to risk it, because I definitely would be, having Silver in a frontline position in Sonic Frontiers 2, right? Because here's the thing, his situation in Sonic 06 was unfortunate because of the shoddy writing, right? Like, most of the characterization in that game is actually really good, right? With Sonic, he sticks to his character, you know, with his journey with Elise and stuff like that. He very much sticks to his character. Shadow, that was... I fight me on it if you will. That was some of the best characterization we have ever seen from Shadow. Only second to, like, Shadow Generations, if anything, right? That was some of the best characterization I have genuinely ever seen from a developed Shadow. Because I have to imagine the idea of Sonic Generations is that it takes place before what happened in 06, or maybe it is after, who knows? But the point is, you know, he's learned a lot, and he's proving that by dealing with stuff from his past, things like that, yada, yada, yada. With Silver, it's a very unique situation because he's coming from the future, and his situation was that he was supposed to learn, you know, what the world was like, and, like, you know, not everything is as black and white as it may seem, you know? And it was just such a very odd situation when it came to Silver, because some of the shoddy writing in that game hurt him the most, because time travel is just such a beast to deal with, right? And so because of that, you know, Silver definitely got the short end of the stick when it came to characterization, because that was the first time we ever met him, right? So, you know, everybody bashed on that game, and the developers were just like, okay, well, most of this game was wrong, and one of the things that they probably included with, you know, quote-unquote everything that was wrong was Silver's character, and going forward, they didn't really know exactly what to do with Silver's character, right? So that's kind of where he's at right now, and I feel like we could definitely take the time, if we were to really lock in and properly focus on what kind of a character Silver is, and see if we could put that into a genuine story between Sonic and between Sonic and Shadow. I feel like we could do something really, really awesome with that. I feel like if there was ever a time to give Silver another chance, it would be in the limelight next to Sonic and Shadow, right? Because here's the thing, after Shadow Generations, that just makes us so incredibly excited for the future, right? We want to see, I mean, that goes for Frontiers too, right? We're just so excited to see, like, where are the journeys of these characters taking them next? You know, where are they going next? What did this journey teach them? Where are they going to take that knowledge? You know, same thing with Shadow Generations. You know, Shadow learned a lot, he's grown a lot, and he's definitely had to fight a lot to get over, you know, his past and, you know, everything that was haunting him in regards to Maria. You know, he's gone through a lot of development. We want to see what happens next with him, and I feel like Frontiers 2 would be a good chance to really, you know, push that limit and see what we could do with him as a character. And with Silver, I feel like this would be a better time than ever to possibly even develop his character, right? Because the lore on him is just that he originates now from the events of Sonic Rivals 2, I believe. I don't know. I feel like we could definitely just take the risk and just give him a spotlight. Maybe I'm crazy for that, I don't know. But I think that we should be able to take the opportunity and prove that Sonic is, you know, his franchise. His friends are very important to that, and I feel like Shadow and Silver would be a true testament to that by giving them a spotlight, giving them the role, the primary role, giving them a mic to speak on, because I feel like these characters have a lot to offer, and I would just love to see them from a gameplay standpoint. You know, Shadow, again, with his chaos abilities and things like that, I assume the Doom powers are gone, I don't know, but he still has a lot of unique abilities available to him. But Silver, just, oh my god, I would love to see a powerhouse like Silver in a Frontier setting, right? He would be able to move a little bit faster, he's free to move around, so he would be able to use his telekinesis and his ability to fight off enemies and things like that. I feel like it would be so fun to give him unique bosses that really challenge his ability. I think that would be so insanely awesome, right? And I think this would be a chance. Okay, if we're being so completely honest, right? I thought about this, and I want to talk more about it in a future video. No, I already talked about it. So, my thought process here is that Sonic Frontiers 2, it likely won't be, but I think it would be really sick to see something of a retry with the trio from 06, right? Because, you know, a lot of people have been, I've seen a lot of, like, discourse within the last couple months. It's definitely died down now, very much so now, in regards to, you know, that game, but in regards to 06. They were talking it up like it was one of the greatest games of all time, that Sonic 06 deserved a lot better. In reality, no, it didn't. You know, we have to be honest with ourselves, that game did not deserve, I mean, props for effort, props for attempt and, you know, potential, but all at the same time, it was just completely flubbed. It was an unacceptable game. It should never have been released in the state that it was. And, you know, even with Project 06 on the field now, you know, it makes all Project 06 does is make it harder to look back at what 06 actually was, right? And, you know, the devs and the directors of the time saw everything with 06 as a complete flaw, which is why they tried to steer so hard away from it. And one of the primary things that they tried to steer away from was Silver, because his characterization in that game is too heavily tied to the messy plot within it. So, because of that, you know, Silver just got completely shafted in the writing department, and I feel like we should be able to give him another chance, as opposed to him just kind of sitting around on the sidelines doing absolutely nothing when he is one of the most capable characters in the entirety of the franchise. And I think it would just be so raw if we could see something like that with Sonic Frontiers 2, because, you know, with that glimpse that we saw of, you know, again, the final horizon with Knuckles, Tails, and Amy, you know, other characters having the limelight shouldn't be anything all that crazy. And I feel like making a bigger game with, you know, a bigger cast to play as, I think we could, I think we have some real potential here. I don't know. Say what you will. Maybe I'm a little crazy. That's fine. You can say that. I won't fight you on it. But I really want to see my boys get another chance to work together. All three of them. Especially Silver, because Silver has been sidelined for too long now, and it's unnerving. So we'll have to see what happens with that. But honestly, I get it if they don't. You know, they're playing it careful. Whatever they got working and cooking with Sonic Frontiers 2, I'm with it. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. So we'll have to see how things play out with that. But, whoa, hiccup. With that being said, I think that just about does it for this one. This was just a general little chit chat about what I would want to see from Sonic Frontiers 2. Of course, I have another like hopes and wishes, like more generalized hopes and wishes that I would want for Sonic Frontiers 2. So we'll talk more about that in the future. But for now, pass the mic in your direction. I want you guys to tell me everything that you're thinking in the comment section below. Do you see my vision? Do you agree with it? Do you think that there could be a potential, like, spiritual reboot of 06 through Frontiers 2, that we could see characters like Shadow and Silver return and actually have important roles in these games that challenge their character and their abilities to their fullest, and we could see some real story and character development from these characters, and, you know, a dynamic between the three that we haven't seen in ages that would make a really sick game? Or am I off my rocker? Sonic is going to be the primary focus. We don't really need any other characters. And, you know, I'm just a nutcase for even thinking of this possibility. Tell me everything that you guys are thinking in the comment section below, because you know for a fact that I'm always going to be down there with you guys. But with that, it does appear to be skedaddle o'clock, so I'm going to go ahead and do exactly that. I'd like to thank you guys ever so much for watching. I truly do hope you enjoyed. Do me the greatest favor of dropping a like and a comment, and consider subscribing for more content just like this here. And with that, I'm gone. So thanks again, hope you enjoyed, and I'll be seeing you guys in the next video. Do me the greatest favor, taking good ass care, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!
Doing donuts in a bin. I stay funky. Battle goes wherever I is. I stay funky. I don't know who's ready to spit. Just know you're going down with my 58 clips. I stay funky. Honey's taking back to the crib. I stay funky. Get the club popped off like pain. I stay funky. I don't know.